Okay, let's start on our walk in Lava Lands. Still looking for the start of the trailhead for the Lava Lands Trail. So we'll just meander around. We appear to be walking along an edge of a lava flow. Quite different than the obsidian walk that I took about a week ago. Interesting how this edge just stopped here. Just imagine what it was back then when that cinder cone in the background had erupted. This would have been creeping very slowly and just stopped at this edge. Okay, we're just at the trailhead of the Molten Trail. It's not molten now. Okay, welcome to Molten Lands. You're about to enter a world where lava dominates the landscape, and living things must adapt to the harsh environment. The trail of the Molten Lands provides insight into the formation of Lava Butte, the cinder cone you see in the distance, as well as close-up views of many unique features of this lava flow. It also shares the survival stories of local high desert plants and animals trying to make a living here. The edge of the flow, imagine standing here 7,000 years ago as a wall of molten lava bulldozed towards you, engulfing the forest in flames. Although it reached temperatures of over 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit, the flow was cooling as it moved, causing it to break into chunks and blocky pieces. From here you can see the force of the flow was overtaken by gravity and its course changed, flowing downhill towards the Deschutes River to the west, which is on our left. Okay, the trail length is about 1.1 miles. As you begin your journey, please keep in mind that is important for your safety to stay on the paved trail. This is an easy 1.1 mile hike, but the last 300 yards of trail sharply ascends to the viewpoint and may be difficult for some visitors. So, let's proceed. As with the obsidian flow, if you hike this at night, this could get a little spooky. Maybe I'll come back here someday or some night when there's a full moon. Certainly would be very difficult to walk over this if you weren't on a prepared trail. Park Service is asking us to go in one direction to comply with social distancing guidelines. Well, the only folks on this trail are that couple up ahead with their pet dog. Appear to be very steep trails going up that cinder cone lava butte. Maybe in my earlier lifetime I would have attempted to go up there, but those are steep and probably could easily slip on the loose rock. We'll check later if the road that goes up there is open. Ah, great balls of fire. Believe it or not, these giant boulders in front of you started out as just small chunks of molten rock. As these pieces broke off the sides of the molten river channel, they rolled and tumbled down the flow, growing in size as they moved, much like a snowball rolling downhill, growing larger as more snow sticks to it. As you continue up the trail, you are following the path of these lava balls that took thousands of years ago. Inside, these boulders resemble cinnamon rolls, providing clues on how they formed. Once lodged in place along the channel, the lava flows will continue to envelop and coat the lava bowl, creating outer crust of basalt. Each layer forms up to 4 inches thick. Well, let's continue on and inspect these lava balls. Interesting perspective of this flat area. Notice that there are scattered trees that manage to find some crevasse. Okay, let's take a panoramic shot. Okay, let's proceed on. Up ahead, there's that lone tree growing right out of that lava bowl. We have these nice, pretty yellow flowers. We'll find out their name later. They seem to be quite prevalent around here. Now let's get a close-up of the surface of this lava. You can see where there's a lot of air in it, and it's just like taffy being pulled. When it cooled down, you get these sharp, jagged edges. Something you would not want to fall on. And here we go. Here's another example of all the froth that was in this lava. Okay, here's something about Newberry volcano. The Northwest Rift Zone. What looked like rolling hills in the distance are actually more buttes, like Lava Butte behind us. Like pimples dotting a face, Newberry volcano has about 400 cinder cones, more than any other volcano in the world. Newberry caldera. Indenting the top of this broad shield-shaped volcano is a basin created by a major eruption and collapse that occurred 75,000 years ago. The size of the city of Bend. Newberry caldera now holds two picturesque alpine lakes, which incidentally we saw last week in our hike on the obsidian flow, and the largest obsidian flow in Oregon. Before this great collapse, the original volcano would have been about 1,000 feet taller, rising predominantly above the high desert. Miles below your feet, the real story is unfolding. The force of the tectonic plates, subduction, and magma working its way to the surface through faults creates the unique landscape in front of us. Magma feeds from both the main chamber under the Newberry caldera and from along its flanks beneath the Northwest Rift Zone. Newberry volcano poses potential hazards from isolated lava flows that cover roads and nearby towns to the fiery eruptions and ash falls blanketing the area, igniting forest fires. Newberry is truly a sleeping giant that may someday reawaken and unleash its power. Now you are standing on the edge of one of the largest volcanoes in North America. resting between the Cascades to the west and the high lava plains to the east. Newberry volcano and its apron of lava flows cover nearly 1,200 square miles, the size of Rhode Island, with scores of eruptions dating far back as 400,000 years ago and recently as 1,300 years ago. Newberry has had a measurable impact on Oregon and the surrounding lands, with deposits from its most explosive eruptions reaching as far as Idaho to the northeast and San Francisco to the southwest. Okay, let's continue on our track. Ridges and valleys of lava, waves of change. You are standing on the edge of a lava levee. Looking down, you can see the main gutter that channeled lava as it poured from the butte. Imagine the scene below you thousands of years ago when this valley was filled with fiery lava. Moving to your left. The high wall you're standing on and the wall across from you formed an enormous pulses of lava filled and overflowed this gutter. Each overflow added a new layer, gradually increasing the size of the levee. As you can see down into this small little valley, going upwards. You are looking down over one of the three main gutters of lava that flowed from Lava Butte. These flows buried 10 square miles of pine forests, which is about 5,000 football fields, and blocked the Chutes River in 5 places, creating the waterfalls we see today. To get a closer look at natural forces that have been raging for 7,000 years, go walk along the river trail at Benham Falls and see firsthand how the river is still trying to work its way through the basalt dams created by these flows. Okay, let's continue up this valley of lava. Okay, it gets a little steeper. but we can still manage it. Okay, let's go to the Phil Brogan viewpoint. Yeah, this is where the trail gets a little steeper, but it's still paved. Get your heart rate going a little. Okay. Lava tubes. Normally found only in Pahoho flows. The lava tube here tells an interesting tale about the complexity of this flow. Great floods of lava gushed out of a breach along the side of Lava Butte and passed this point many times. During the final stages of eruption, only a trickle of lava flowed down a small channel. The surface tube below you, right there, was formed when this lava stream cooled and crushed it over. Notice up ahead, the tube is collapsed in places where the roof was thin. So that must be that area just further away. So look at 3 stages here. Stage 1, during the final stages of an eruption, there isn't enough magma inside the vent to feed the growing lava field. As a result, a small stream of lava forms a path and continues to flow in an estimated channel, much like a small stream of water coming off a larger river. Stage 2. The lava flow in the channel is steady and moderate, since the route of the channel is determined by the existing topography of this lava field. This allows the crust to build from each side of the channel, while the lava hardens as it makes contact with the air, like moving water beginning to freeze over in winter. Stage 3. Under favorable conditions, the lava tube is complete once the 2 sides of the channel meet the roof. Lava will continue to flow through the tube and cause the walls and ceiling to remelt, creating what look like teeth hanging from the roof of the cave. These unique features are known as lava sickles. Okay, at the bottom, suggested activity. To get a real feel for what it's like in a lava tube, visit the longest lava tube in Oregon. Lava River Cave is over a mile long and is located across the highway from Lava Lawns Visitor Center. Well, I would go there, but it's my understanding it's closed off because of COVID-19. The air in the tube just does not circulate, so it could be a place of infection if there are a lot of people. So let's continue on our hike. Lava finds a new path. If you were standing here at this point 7,000 years ago, look out. Even though the more violent activity at the top of the cinder cone had slowed down, a bit of rumbling was still taking place inside. After a large amount of gas had depleted from the vent and no longer shot molten debris out of the top, which caused this top part of the cinder cone with all that loose rubble, rising magma from the weakest spot inside or the side of the butte burst out, creating a new path. You can see this breach in the lava butte directly in front of you. So that must be the breach over there. Lava spreads across over 8 miles from here, flowing toward the present-day city of Bend, and it's up to 100 feet deep in some places. These enormous pulses of lava have left behind enough basalt to build a 4-lane highway around the Earth 6 times. You can get a good sense of this from the view on the Lava Butte overlook above us. Or Pahoho, or Pahoho. In Hawaii, lava flows are described as Pahoho or Aho. These two descriptive terms explain how the surfaces of basaltic flows appear after the lava cools. These terms have been adopted by scientists to describe not only the aspect of geology, but the characteristic how lava behaves as it flows from a vent. A smooth, ropey surface is typical of Pahoho flow when the lava oozes out like a thick syrup, surrounding trees and burning them out. The Aho flow you are standing on acts more like a molten bulldozer, knocking down everything in its sight. Though it may begin as a fluid Pahoho or Pahoho flow, Then it transitions into a more traditional flow, bearing the landscape under an advancing front. If you look at your right, you can see evidence that may support the theory of this flow, starting off as a Behelho flow. Look for a piece of rock that looks like bent fingers. Well, that may be bent fingers just in front of us. So let's continue on our trek. Going higher and higher. Interesting looking at this face or this cliff of lava. You notice how lava sort of fractures in small pieces. Interesting design. Okay, I think we're reaching the lookout. Beautiful view. Okay, let's take a panoramic shot. Yeah, today is hazy from all those forest fires, or else we would have a great view of the Three Sisters. Okay. Stretching from California to Canada, the Cascade Range is part of a much greater realm of volcanoes and mountains around the Pacific Ocean known as the Ring of Fire. About 80% of the world's largest earthquakes occur along this seismic region. When combined with the potential of volcanic eruptions, scientists pay close attention to this area with the hope of warning us of potential dangers. You may have noticed that some mountains look jagged, while others are nice and smooth. The wrinkle on our faces, like those features, are indication of passing of time. Ice Age glaciers may have cut deeply into older volcanoes, such as Broken Top and North Sister. Well, Broken Top is that tall peak directly in front of us, and if you can see through the haze, the North Sister. While the younger mountains like Mount Bachelor and South Sister escaped with fewer scars. And that's Mount Bachelor. Hopefully you can see where my finger is pointing. Resting between North and South Sisters at an elevation of over 7,000 feet, Collier Glacier is one of the largest glaciers in Oregon. It is one of the few glaciers that have been intensively studied and monitored for extensive periods of time. Once nearly 2 miles long, this ice mass has shrunk to about half its peak due to climate change. It's interesting how this lava flow extended out, encompassed a forest, and right at the edge of the floor of this lava flow, you can see the edge of the forest. Fascinating. And again, in the lava flow, you see isolated trees that have managed to take root. Okay, let's continue our path. We're going down now. Imagine a teenager bringing a skateboard up here, going down this thing. Yeah, if he fell, that would be the end of his skin. Now earlier we talked about a lava tube, and if you look down in here in this gully, this is probably the collapse of the ceiling of that lava tube. And this may also be part of a lava tube that collapsed right here. Okay, we're going to go to the right and go down a different path that will take us down to the parking lot. Here we go. This talks about the flora and fauna here. Xeric plants adapt to dry conditions, making them some of the hardiest species you will ever encounter. Their adaptation to an unforgiving world, a place where minimal amounts of soil and water exist, is nothing less than remarkable. If your timing is right, you'll be greeted by a show of what happens for just a short period every summer when these dark rocks come along with color. Okay, I guess those yellow flowers are the gray rabbit brush, sometimes called rubber rabbit brush. This shrub was once considered a source of natural latex. This common yellow shrub is found often alongside roads and highways in Oregon's high desert. And there are a number of other plants. Okay, this plant I think I've seen. Wax currant. Native Americans use this plant to sustain themselves on long journeys. Pemmican was made by taking strips of deer and elk, laying them on rocks, and smashing the red berries into the meat. This would dry over time in the hot sun and turn into something similar to beef jerky. Okay, there are other plants shown here, but I have not seen them, and we may be a little too late in the summer. Well, let's continue on our track down. It's interesting how this bush with yellow flowers got the name rabbit brush. I'll have to look it up. Wish I knew what this bush is. Well, I'll look it up later. Okay, we've quickly come down to the level part of the lava field. It's about 10 degrees Celsius out here. If you're wearing a vest, long pants, it's very comfortable. Okay, meet lava nest monster. And that must be that tree, about 50 meters away from us. Have you noticed that many trees along this trail are twisted? Closer examination of what we call the lava nest monster may help solve the mystery. Look for a tree in front of you that some say resembles the famous photo of the Loch Ness Monster. And here's an artist's depiction when that tree had its leaf. Lava nest was once just a pine seed that found its way into these unforgiving molten lands. Though the lava cooled over 7,000 years ago, there is little soil here because the dry climate does not weather the rocks quickly. These plants adapt to living on a small pocket of soil by sending out a single moisture-seeking taproot. The fluids and nutrients are then distributed to all sides of the tree, growing in a spiral fashion. In more favorable environments where all roots reach water and soil, trees grow straight and roots feed the branches directly above them. Here in the molten lands, this spiral growth allows uniform watering of all the branches across the trunk, even if one root grows on one side of the tree. At the base of lava nests, one root, her tail, is much larger than the others. This is due to the fact that only one root reached water, while the others just help anchor the tree. Although lava nest still stands, small roots of the other dead trees may have been seen along the trail, were not as strong enough to keep them upright. As you look around, you can see other trees trying to make a living out here, realize that the slow growth rate is due to the struggle they face. Because the trees are stunted, they may look young, but they're actually older than the tall pine trees you see on the left out there in the forest. And another day we'll take a trail to go through these trees, and that's called the Trail of Whispering Pines. Okay, let's take a picture of lava nest. There we go. We're going through a break in one of these lava balls. Now we can have an inspection of what it looks like in one of these things. Okay. Here we go, talking about the fauna. Living in lava lands means surviving in an unforgiving world where water is scarce. There is little shelter from the elements. There are no soft spots to rest, and food is very hard to come by. This is a place for the few and the hardy. Along the trail, note how few animals you see. When you do, observe them and please don't feed them. Your food could be stored in their caches, which may spoil their winter reserves. You might be lucky enough to catch a picture of one of them. They like to pose. Squirrels or chipmunks? Critters scurrying along the rocks may seem similar, but close examination reveals differences. Can you tell ground squirrels from chipmunks? There's a hint. Look at their heads. Even though both animals have stripes on their backs, only chipmunks have stripes on their heads. We have the yellow pine chipmunk. We have the golden mantled ground squirrel. And if you can find them, the pallid winged grasshopper.